Welcome to another Stronghold video. I can confidently say this was the first ever randomized Stronghold Crusader Nuzlocke assimilation, because I just made it up. Using some virtual dice rolling, we randomized our first custom game and received two enemies, Sultan and Nazar, and were placed on the appropriately named Happy Lands map. Going into this match, I wasn't too sure of what to expect. Sultan, I wasn't too worried about since he doesn't really know what he's doing, to be honest. But I've never fought Nazar before, so my initial plan was to kill Sultan, gain access to his Arabian swordsman, and then attack Nazar. The first few seconds started as they normally do. I built a quarry for stone and an apple, dairy, and wheat farm. But then I noticed arrows were already flying amidst my keep, and I may have had a bit of a miscalculation in placement on the map because we were a lot closer to our enemies than I had thought. So I went to work setting up a Fletcher, armory, and barracks to go ahead and get archer production going. With the enemy fortresses being so close, having a steady flow of archers is a must. I set up a lookout tower for my last two archers and took out Nazar's lone archer in his tower. I recruited several more archers, built another lookout tower, and started being a constant annoying thorn in the side of my enemies. I'm so close to Nazar, in fact, that I can keep him from completing his moat, which will allow me to walk in unhindered when it's time to actually attack him. Then I start pressing the offense a bit. I build a square tower facing Nazar's fortress, and if I put my archers up there, they should have a line of sight down into Nazar's keep. But then I realized if my archers can see Nazar's keep, his archers can then see my archers. So I retreated them back to the barracks and started amassing a small army to send up to the tower along with another square tower. Then Nazar started attacking my archers with a fire ballista. Knowing now that he has engineers and fire ballistas, my plans changed a bit, and I consider attacking Nazar first for those engineers to help in a siege against Sultan. His fire ballistas took out about half of my archers I had on the lookout towers before my archers could finally destroy them. I'm surprised more of my archers didn't die because they seemed to focus more on the troops that couldn't even touch them rather than the ranged units. After they finally destroyed the fire ballista, I consider it a good time to send a small troop of archers onto the square tower, and they did a good job and actually managed to take out all of Nazar's troops on top of his keep with minimal casualties to them. I decided to put up 2 lines of maypoles so my archers could get a combat buff to match my opponents. For those that don't know, maypoles are part of the quote-unquote good decorations, and they give your troops a combat bonus as well as giving your popularity a bonus. Anyways, I think both Sultan and Nazar use max combat bonus. This might have been better to have earlier when Nazar managed to kill all but one of my archers, but just in case he has an influx of units or Sultan decides to attack me, we'll be prepared. I checked the census and Nazar still had over 20 troops, which meant he had several assassins on his keep that I couldn't see from this distance. I tried shooting his keep directly just to see if the stray arrows could maybe hurt the assassins even if I couldn't see them, but I don't think that really did anything. But it doesn't really matter. I started building up my archer army to send into Nazar's fortress, and it amounted to a little over twice as many total troops that he had. My archers just stood outside of his wall and started firing into his keep, and sure enough, after a couple minutes, 2 assassins appeared in front of my troops, and then 2 more inside the keep. It was then I noticed Nazar was about dead already. He was on super low red health. I guess the constant barrage of arrows ever since the beginning of the game over all this time slowly chiseled away at his health. I sent a small group of archers up to his keep, and after like 2 little punches, Nazar went down. I ended up choosing assassins as the unit to learn from him. The engineers he had only utilized fire ballistas, so I couldn't use catapults, and I already had archers for long range, so I wouldn't think fire ballistas could really help me out any. And the only other unit he had was torchmen, so Arabian bows. So assassins I think were the best play here. They're a good unit to use against Sultan because not only are they melee and they actually do some pretty decent damage, but they can also take gatehouses, which Sultan only has one entrance into his castle, being a lone gatehouse. I recruited about 25 assassins before starting the attack against Sultan. I moved my archers up to take out the ranged units and then sent 1 assassin in to take out the gatehouse. And once he took the gatehouse, I sent my archers in to get on the wall and surround his forces. With that cover, the remaining assassins came in and quickly killed Sultan, resulting in a win for me. That game was a lot easier than I had initially expected it to be, and I was up for another one, so I rolled the dice and generated another random game. Real quick, if you like this kind of content, be sure to let me know with a like and comment below. The full video of this run is linked in the description below, or you can find it on my channel. While you're here, be sure to subscribe for more of the same kind of content. Rolling the dice, the odds picked Snake and Wazir for me to fight. Once again, one leader that I've fought countless times before, Snake, and one enemy I've never faced before. The odds also chose Target Zone as the map, which I don't believe I've actually ever fought on this map either. I do the same basic setup except for wood production because trees are pretty far away from the fortress on this map, so I only went with one woodcutter instead of my normal two, and I just anticipated on having to buy wood as I needed it. Things were actually going pretty good at the beginning game. I had 2 iron smelters going for the gold, 2 quarries for the stone production for a good castle, and I already had a bakery chain going. I hadn't quite closed the walls in yet or recruited many archers, but we were so far away from the other 2 leaders, they shouldn't really bother us too much at the beginning. But I forgot about something. Snake. And his torchmen. I knew it was going too easy. He destroys my apple and wheat farm before his torchmen actually make it all the way inside my castle. And then for some reason my archers can't see the slingers right outside the walls. And even while editing this, I still don't really know why they can't see them. I guess they just can't. I don't know. So, in not really my best play, I sent the archers directly outside the wall to confront the slingers, who then managed to kill all of my archers. So, the only troops I have left are spearmen, and I can't even use them. Oh, and then more torchmen show up, and while the fire brigade is trying to go put the fire out, they're absolutely murdered by the slingers right outside my walls. It was not going well. So I get some archers recruited, and after a bit of running back and forth, they finally managed to take out the 3 or 4 enemy units that were causing all the trouble. I recovered alright and set up a couple of towers for my archers, which was definitely needed because as soon as the last tower went up, Snake attacked me. It wasn't a successful attack. He even positioned his catapult to where my archers in the very front could hit it. But it was pretty stressful because he ended up sending his torchmen to my quarries right in the middle of the fight. And for some reason, none of my archers were targeting them. I don't know what was going on at the beginning of this game, but my archers just were not seeing his troops. But the crisis was averted. The spearmen, though very intimidating in crumbling the wall that led nowhere, were eventually killed, and we went right back to Resource Management Simulator. I built some Fletchers and started the process of amassing a grand army of archers. But then, some of Snake's torchmen actually got through and set fire to my farms again. I swear my archers had it out for me or something. We recover again, just in time for Wazir to start attacking me. He sent his swordsmen to attack the far north tower though, so I big brained it and started building a middle wall that they would have to break down once inside. While I was doing this though, Snake's torchmen made it through again and burned down some more of my farms. And then Snake started attacking me again. I mean, I guess it's good that they see me as a threat, but they could let me relax for just 2 seconds. Getting through that wave of attacks, I started building up my army of archers a little bit more. I should note too that Wazir put this engineer tent right beside my fortress. I'm assuming it was supposed to be a trebuchet eventually, but it just kind of stays there all game as engineers from Wazir keep trying to get to it and end up just being killed. With about 30 archers per tower, they did significantly better against some horse archers that happened to come over from Wazir, and even took out some torchmen at the same time. Snake went back to his old ways of keeping his catapult just out of reach of my archers, so I whipped out another big brain strat. A bunch of randomly placed walls. And you know what? It actually kind of worked. The catapult spent a lot of time trying to take down the decoy walls and even moved up to a point where my archers could start shooting it. And then Snake attacked again and lost super quick, with my archers managing to take out 2 catapults fairly quickly. I considered adding another square tower among the decoy walls, but decided that if I did that, Snake would just start setting up his siege further back from the towers to where I wouldn't be able to do as much to his catapults. But then I decided to build it anyways just to see what would happen as a little experiment. And sure enough, Snake staged even further back on the next wave, almost all the way back to his castle. But my archers can in fact still shoot his catapults, so there is one good thing that came out of it. In an attempt to get my army numbers up, I built 12 more Fletcher workshops. We're going to have the biggest archer army of all time. And before too long, we had over 50 bows in the armory ready for archer recruitment. And this must have intimidated Wazir, because he started targeting Snake instead of me, which was perfect, in a way. But if he killed Snake, I'd be without engineers and catapults going against Wazir. So, in actuality, it didn't really change too much. I just kept hiring archers, coming to the plan that I'd want about twice as many archers as he had troops. I'd then wait for either Snake to attack me and use up some of his troops, or Wazir to start attacking Snake to weaken him. And I didn't have to wait long before Wazir started his siege. I gotta say, Wazir's siege left a lot to be desired. Half his engineers actually died before even manning their equipment. All of his fire throwers and torchmen died before setting a good fire. And all that was left of his siege was his swordsmen that were just slowly marching towards his castle. Pretty soon my archers arrived on the scene, and it was kind of perfect that the swordsmen were just walking around because all of Snake's forces were somewhat distracted, so my archers could kind of sneak up and start raining down arrows onto his keep. But pretty soon after my archers got there, his swordsmen managed to find a way into the fortress and started marching up to the keep. So I had to act pretty fast, and I set all my archers up to try to melee Snake, running right by most of the swordsmen. But they made it, and they got the kill. So I gained the ability to recruit engineers and build catapults. The only other 2 things I think that I could have gotten... No. The only other 3 things I could have gotten: spearmen, slingers, or Arabian bows. Or laddermen. But honestly, none of those were worth it. So we went with engineers and catapults. And hopefully that's all I need to take out Wazir. His castle didn't look too defensive, so it felt promising, but I've never fought this enemy before, so he might have a trick or 2 up his sleeve. We will see. In the meantime, my Fletchers made a huge quantity of bows, as they do, so I started recruiting an overabundance of archers to add to my ever-growing army, just in time for Wazir to start setting up his next attack against me. I decided to meet him halfway and set up a little over 200 archers as sort of a flank against anything that came down the hill towards my keep. And the plan actually worked out perfectly. His engineers didn't even get to set up. His archers and range units barely attacked. I actually don't even know if he had very many. And his swordsmen didn't make it down the hill. We lost like a total of 40 archers in the skirmish, which we pretty quickly recruited right back thanks to my 15 total Fletchers mass-producing longbows. I then started my plan to attack Wazir, setting up my archers and engineers where Snake's fortress used to be. I wanted to start building catapults, but I noticed Wazir's horse archers were coming directly towards my troops. Turns out they were just defending a random woodcutter that my archers ended up killing. After dealing with that small fight, I went about the not-so-quick task of building a little over 20 catapults. I'm glad I had over 200 archers with me because Wazir, in an attempt to protect his precious woodcutters, sent out a small group of swordsmen and horse archers, but luckily my archers were able to take him out pretty quickly with very little damage. So I moved the catapults into position and started the siege. While I was just starting the siege, Wazir sent his troops out to siege my castle. Like, he sent his whole army in a counter siege, I guess. And their path took them directly through my troops. Again, luckily, I had over 200 archers at this point, and the catapults I had left were able to take care of some of the swordsmen. I don't know what kept happening to my catapults, but I lost 2 or 3 at some point. either to stray catapult stones or sinking into sand or falling off the cliff or something. Little by little, I moved my catapults and archers up, slowly leveling Wazir's entire fortress. And I lost several more catapults. I still don't really know why. I'm assuming they're hitting each other with the projectiles. That's the only explanation I can think of. With his fortress in rubble, I decided to siege in style, sending my archers up to his large circular tower, which he promptly demolished. So we had to resort to melee. But we did it, using only archers and catapults from Snake. What a wild game. I really enjoyed playing with the randomly chosen enemies and maps. I'm still playing around with the rules a bit. I like the difficulty for just goofing around in the custom games, but I think having a minimum of 3 enemies would make games a lot more interesting towards the end. I'm also coming up with some hardcore challenge rules like max caps for resources, armies, stuff like that, but that'll be for a little bit of a harder challenge. I might end up doing videos of those if they're fun. Anyways, as always, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate all of your support, and I will see you guys next time.